I got a question recently from someone in the email that I want to address a little bit here while we're recording a video. He was asking about fasting. In particular, he was asking about fasting at the time of Ekadashi, which is a practice of the Vaishnavas, the Vishnu worshipping Hindus. They practice at the time of Ekadashi. And Ekadashi, for anyone who doesn't know, is the 11th lunar phase. We have different lunar phases in the Panchanga, the Hindu calendar. And most of them are named just by a number. Dvitiya, Tritiya, Chaturthi. It's different numbers. And certain lunar phases are said to be sacred to different forms of God. Also then there's Purnima, full moon, and Amavasya, no moon. So these phases are calculated in the Indian tradition, a little different than according to Western astrology. So first thing, if we want to observe a vrata, a vow, at some time like Ekadashi, we've got to discern when the time is. And for that we need a panchangam, or we need some computer program for astrology that can calculate these. And if we're in North America, as we are right now, we have to be careful. We don't want a panchangam for India, because the day will be different in India sometimes than it is in USA. Because the phases of the moon are happening at one actual time, but if that's daytime in US, that may be nighttime in India. And so if it occurs during the nighttime, then we begin next day. And for that reason, it's important that we have a panchanga for North America, or the place that we live in North America. At least a similar longitude. If you're in Alaska, maybe you want to use panchangam for California. Or Seattle, somewhere as close as you can get to your home place. And you can find these. There's My Guru online has a service. They'll create a panchangam for your place for a nominal fee at HimalayanAcademy.com or .org, I guess. I don't know, maybe Himalayan, just search Himalayan Academy and you'll find that option. But many large temples in US now make panchangams for that particular place. It's important so you have the right time. With Ekadashi, sometimes there's a consideration in some traditions that if it's beginning with the 10th lunar phase rather than just 11th, that day should not be Ekadashi. In some traditions they say next day should be. However, in other traditions, just whatever day first we have the 11th lunar phase is considered Ekadashi day. And so again, in different sampradayas and different lineages, we have different traditions. And so I can't speak to all of those. And my guru is a Shiva, so we didn't observe Ekadashi. Instead, he recommended fasting on Pradosham, which I'll talk about next. But on Ekadashi day, basically, people will fast from the sunrise till sunset. Some people even, they won't eat all day. They may just take water. But they're different traditions. And sometimes, if people fast too often, it's not wise to fast completely from food. People fast for other reasons also. Maybe as an astrological remedy. And so if there's some problem with Brihaspati, Jupiter, in the birth chart, on his day, Thursday, people may fast. If you're fasting every week, this may not be good for your health, especially if you're very thin or weak. In this case, it may be better to do a simple, what we call mono fast, where you eat some simple food that's light and easy to digest. And it will clear out your body anyway. There are certain foods that are definitely prohibited for Ekadashi. Grains, meat, of course. I mean, probably we're not eating meat anyway if we're doing sadhana. But if you're fasting in particular, don't eat the meat for sure, but grains people avoid also. But certain foods they can eat, fruits, foods which are very sattvic. Some traditions say fruits and vegetables and nuts, and dairy is okay. And so certain specific foods will be taken by people that are light and easy to digest. One popular food people cook for the Ekadashi fast is sabudana, the tapioca pearls. They may cook it with some peanuts and just some spices, some jeera, cumin seed and chili, maybe curry leaves, things like this. And they cook with potatoes. And then they'll serve it with some yogurt. The point of the fasting here is that it causes your body to start to cleanse itself. And that can cause your mind to start to cleanse itself. It's a good practice to fast occasionally. It gives us discipline. You know, usually we act on the instincts of the body and the instincts of the mind, and in yoga practice we train ourselves, we retrain ourselves to gain control over the body and the mind, so we don't have to act on those instincts. Some yogis, they don't eat food. They may just breathe and live directly off the prana from the sun. I have one guru who lives very much like that. She often doesn't eat any food for a long time. Many months. In my own practice, one time my gurus had me fast from food and water for 7 months, 11 months, something like that. Generally, that's not possible without the grace of God or the grace of a guru. If we think in terms of health, we can't fast too much and have this be good for the body. Ayurveda would say that fasting occasionally is good for everybody, if you're strong enough. If you're too weak, it can be a problem. If you have low blood sugar and you start to faint if you didn't eat food, then maybe not a good idea to fast. Mono fast would be better. One simple, easily digested food, like khichdi made of basmati rice and moong dal. Easy to digest, nourishing. It will cleanse the body. When we fast, we start to feel hungry. And we can struggle with that desire. It gives us an opportunity to practice discipline. Also, they say that when you're fasting, the blood sugar changes. It changes. It alters the chemistry of the mind. It alters your mental state. This is one reason that they recommend staying awake at night, like for Shiva or something, and fasting also, because these things alter our consciousness. It won't lead us directly to God realization necessarily. It won't lead us to an intuitive vision just to fast from food, although some people may start seeing some things. But it will change our mental state. Once we're out of that normal mental state, it's easier to shift our awareness to something different. So it allows us to practice discipline, and it allows us to alter our mental state a little bit, and it's like an offering to God. Rather than always taking something for yourself, it trains you to be dispassionate. To say, okay, well, I don't have food today, but that's okay. So people should fast according to their body's strength. We can't just say that you should fast on this day. A diabetic person shouldn't fast maybe at all. Depending on the strength of a person, they could fast for longer, or they could give up more. A very strong, healthy person could take only water maybe and be fine. But a person who's weaker, maybe they need to eat a little bit, maybe just fruits, or some simple light food like sabudana. For this, it would be wise to seek the advice of a guru, or an Ayurveda doctor, or someone who can give some advice about what's the best practice. So we don't just have to fast on Ekadashi. It's a wonderful day. Ekadashi has a very spiritual energy. It relates to Lord Vishnu. That time, astrologically, that time is very conducive to our spiritual practice, and it relates to the energy of Lord Vishnu. But there are other times every month that relate to different aspects of God. Chaturthi, the fourth lunar phase, relates to Ganapati. So if your Ishta Devata is Ganapati, you pray to Ganapati, you can fast on the fourth lunar phase. Or for Kartikeya, Shashti, the 6th lunar phase. Shukla Shashti, they observe there, in the bright, waning moon cycle, or Kritika Nakshatra. But for Shiva, the big time is Pradosham. So let me define Pradosham basically. On the day that the 13th lunar phase changes to the 14th, when this happens after sunset, that period is Pradosham. For a couple of hours after the sun sets, it's a very sacred time for Lord Shiva. And so in Shiva traditions, and this happens twice a month, in the waning moon cycle and waxing moon cycle, Shukla Paksha and Krishna Paksha. And so Shaivas may fast on that day of Pradosham and eat food only after they do some worship of Lord Shiva. And this is important as well. We can't just fast and think this will benefit us. We have to do it as a spiritual discipline. For that purpose, usually they recommend we do some puja for the deity. But we can offer simple prayers or whatever we're inclined to do. For the goddess, maybe at full moon time. Different deities relate to different phases of the moon, different nakshatras, different days of the week. Shiva relates to Monday, for example. So you could fast on Mondays, do a simple mono fast. My guru always recommended fasting once a month for all his devotees, unless that they're sick, for once a month. Then maybe some could benefit from more, maybe some could benefit from less or lighter fasting. But that basically is a practice to try to fast one time in the month, at least. And to be careful to do any more than that. And so for a time like Ekadashi or Pradosham, we could choose either the Shukla Paksha, the waning moon cycle, or the Krishna Paksha, the waxing moon cycle. And just do that day every month, on Ekadashi once a month. That would be a good basic practice. It would probably be safe for most people. You could fast from all food, generally, most people, as a spiritual practice. And it would probably be good for the physical body as well. And for the planets, you could fast on that day and wear the color of the planet and offer prayers. If you know that you're having troubles because Shani, Saturn, is doing something in your birth chart, one way to address that is to make this offering by fasting on Saturday. You could wear black and fast every Saturday and pray to Saturn to help you and bless you, and this may help with those problems. These kind of things can help. It changes our consciousness. It helps us face what is within. One reason they say we should not eat right before we do yoga practice is because a lot of the yoga practices will divert energy from digestion. Meditation even will divert energy from digestion or mantra. And so before you do a puja, before you chant, before you meditate, before you do asana, you should wait after you eat. But we've got to think it all should be in moderation. We can't just give up food. Maybe the saints go without food, but we eat food. It's a part of our spiritual practice. The Upanishads say even, don't give up food. Eat the right amount of food, share the food you have with your guests, but eat the food, that's the spiritual practice. And if you eat the food with devotion to take care of your body, and you eat when you're hungry, and you don't eat when you're not hungry, that's hard for people. A lot of people, they don't know when they're hungry, they have emotional appetite. They just eat and eat and eat, and they get overweight, and they keep eating. They don't know when they're full. Just to learn that is a good practice. But if you're too hungry when you sit to meditate, you won't meditate because your stomach will be growling and you'll be distracted. You're thinking, I'm hungry. But also, if you ate too soon before you try to sit, your stomach will be working hard to digest the food and you'll be feeling full and a little bit tired, and so you won't meditate well. If the system is too clogged up. You won't meditate well. I had one student years ago, a Westerner. He was doing a lot of meditation and mantra when I met him. And he asked me for some suggestions. He said, I'm not getting good results. I'm sitting and doing 4 hours of japa every day, and I'm not noticing anything. I'm not feeling anything. What can I do, Swamiji, to help? So I started to really feel something. And one thing, I asked him about what he ate, and he was eating a lot of meat. He'd wake up and eat some sausages, and for lunch he'd have a hamburger, and for dinner he'd have a steak. And I told him, I said, that's too much meat. You can't possibly be digesting all of that. Meaning it's staying in your body as toxins and it's clogging you up. I said, if you want to have a subtler awareness, give up some of the meat. Eat vegetarian 5 days out of the week. Other 2 days, if you want, eat some meat. Fine, no problem. Just eat a lot of spices with it so you digest it. And he did, and immediately he started to feel things. So it's a good thing to allow our bodies to cleanse themselves occasionally. And it's a good thing to practice that discipline. If there's food there, eat it. If there's not food there, that's what a sannyasi does in India, right? They say a sannyasi goes, he knocks the door, he begs for food. And each day, traditionally, a sannyasi can go to 3 houses. And of course, when you're begging for food, sometimes people, they don't give the food, they just yell at you instead. Go away, you bum! Get a job! Right? And so if he knocks 3 doors and they all send him away, no food for the day. That was the practice of the sannyasi. Nowadays, not all sannyasis live like that. They go home, they're driving a nice car and this kind of thing, talking on their phone. But that was the practice. And it's a good practice. God will give you what you need. But you've got to overcome the tendency in the mind to worry and feel like you don't have what you need. I'll tell you, when I started that practice of fasting for a long time, I didn't want to do it. Having studied Ayurveda, for me it seemed better to eat the food. I had trouble to keep myself eating. If anything, that was a harder sadhana for me. It was cooking 3 meals a day and keeping myself eating. Because I'd forget and skip meals. I was so thin because I was forgetting and skipping meals. So for me, it was a better practice to keep eating and take care of the body that way. So I was surprised when my guru led me to this place where food was not coming. And one time I remember after 7 days of no food and no water, I got really afraid. And I started crying. And I was talking out loud to God and I was saying, Lord, I've been begging for the food and it's not coming. I'm scared. I want to serve you, but how do I serve you if I'm dead? This will never work. You know, I'm scared, Lord, because I think my body needs some food. And right then I heard this voice saying to me, it's been 7 days. You went 7 days no food, 7 days no water. Doesn't science say that your body would die after 3 days of no water? Or 5 days of no water? But you've gone 7 days. So isn't it that you must be being fed? And I thought about that. And then I was crying tears of joy, thinking, oh, well, God is supporting me. Just the mind was not accepting that. And in that time I was feeling very healthy. Much healthier than when I was cooking nice Ayurvedic food and taking herbs and all this kind of thing. Much healthier when I was fasting because God was supporting me. Another time I tried to fast, though, of my own decision. I read one story from a Christian saint. This saint decided to go and live in one church and only eat the wine. They give just a little wine and the little piece of bread that they offer. It's like prasadam in the Christian puja for Christ. And so this saint, she decided, I'll live in the church and I'll only eat that. Only eat what comes from communion. Only what comes from the prayer service there. And she lived on that until she came into realization of God. The Catholics call this ecstasy. And so I went to one temple up in Maryland actually, one temple there, big Shiva Vishnu temple. And I went there and I told the priest, I said, I heard this story, I'm going to just stay here and I'll only take the tirtam, the liquid from the abhishekam, and I'll only eat the vibhuti until I realize God. I just stay here and I do that. And this priest looked at me and he said, that's stupid. So we cook food for you. You know, we're giving you the bhiksha, you've got to give us karmakan, we're giving you the food, you've got to bless us. That's stupid, you've got the food right here, you know, you can stay, we love you here, stay. But eat the food, don't kill yourself. You know, but I was being stubborn. I thought this was a great idea. I thought I'd follow that example. It was not God's will for me though. After about 2 days of no food, there was so much pain I couldn't sleep. You know, the body was just pain, pain, pain. And so that next morning, after staying awake for a very painful night, I went to the priest and I bowed. I touched his feet. I said, you were right. Can I have some food, please? And he said, yeah, sure, sure. So you can stay, Swamiji. Just eat the food. We've got the food for you. So we shouldn't turn down any good thing, but it can be a good practice to practice being disciplined and practice doing without. Because a lot of us eat too much today. If you're eating too much, it's good to fast. But I was always tending to eat too little, so for me it was better practice to cook good food. And maybe for me even, you know, I didn't follow my guru's instruction. He didn't want me to. Maybe on Pradosham he would have had me cook very nice food for myself instead.